Your stuff will outlive you. That is a fact. It will sit here in this house, collecting a fine layer of dust long after your breath has stopped. The real question, the one that should keep you up at 3 a.m., is this: will you let it outlive you while you're still living? That feeling of heaviness in your home, the one that makes your shoulders ache before you've even lifted a single box, has nothing to do with square footage or how many things you own. It's the crushing weight of your own past, demanding rent from your present. After 60, you start paying that rent with a currency you can no longer afford to waste. Your time, your energy, and your finite peace of mind. You see, the great secret isn't learning how to organize your past. It's learning how to grant it an honorable discharge, to let it rest so that you can finally live. It's about deciding that your remaining years are more valuable than any object. In the back of my garage, bolted to a workbench my father built in 1967, sits a cast iron vise. It weighs a good 70 pounds. I remember the sound of him tightening its jaws, the metallic scrape, and the scent of oil and hard work. His hands, strong and calloused, could fix anything with that vise. For decades, it was a symbol of capability, of the man of the house. Today, my hands, spotted with age, can barely turn the handle. My back aches just looking at it. I haven't used it for a real project since 1998. Yet there it sits. It's no longer a tool. It's a monument. A monument to a strength I no longer possess, and a man I can no longer be. It holds nothing in its jaws but ghosts, and it serves no purpose but to remind me of the physical space it occupies and the mental space it steals every single day. It's a heavy, useless piece of my history that is actively blocking my future. That vise is your collection of porcelain figures from your mother, Eleanor. It's the shelves of books you know, in your heart, you will never read again. It's the wedding china for a dinner party that will never happen. These things are not clutter. They are frozen decisions. Each object you can't part with is a choice you've postponed, a conversation with yourself you've avoided. The profound exhaustion you feel isn't from the dust. It's the psychic energy you burn every single day to maintain thousands of these tiny, silent arguments with your past. Your home has become a mausoleum for past identities. Listen to me very carefully now. I am telling you this for one simple reason, so that perhaps you won't have to be as foolish as I was for so many years. The freedom you're looking for isn't out there. It's in here, buried under all this stuff. Let me tell you about a man named George, a client of mine. George was a retired union carpenter, 72 years old, and prouder than a peacock. In the summer of 2019, his wife Sarah called me. Her voice was thin, stretched with a frustration she was trying to hide. George had just recovered from a knee replacement, and his garage, his kingdom, was the problem. It was immaculate, every tool wiped clean, but it was utterly impassable. He had tools from jobs he'd done since the Carter administration. The air in there was thick with the ghost smells of pine sawdust and stale motor oil, a fragrance he called history. Sarah's request was simple, heartbreakingly so. She just wanted to park her little car inside before the winter, to avoid slipping on the ice that always formed on their steep driveway. For George, it was a declaration of war on his very soul. "This is 40 years of my identity," he told me, his voice thick with a kind of wounded pride I knew all too well. He wasn't just holding on to tools. He was clinging to the man who could build anything, the man everyone in the family relied on. There was a specialized router for a cabinet style popular in 1985. There were heavy-duty table saws for cutting materials he no longer had the strength to lift, let alone the need for. These weren't just objects. They were physical proof that he had once been strong, capable, and essential. To give them up felt like admitting defeat to time itself. He was fighting to preserve a version of himself that no longer existed, and in doing so, he was turning his garage into a fortress against the woman who was trying to grow old with him, right now, in the present. The turning point came on a bitter cold November morning. I got the call from a distraught Sarah. Just as she had feared, she'd slipped on a patch of black ice on the driveway while carrying in groceries. Her wrist was fractured. Seeing her in a cast, her face pale and etched with pain, did something to George that all my talking could not. The guilt on his face was heavier than any toolbox in that garage. In that single awful moment, he finally understood. The tools weren't keeping him young. They weren't preserving his identity. They were actively endangering the person he loved most in the world. The weight of his unmade decisions had just broken his wife's arm. It was a brutal physical manifestation of the emotional burden he'd been forcing them both to carry for years. We spent the next month working. It wasn't a purge, it was a ceremony. For every tool, George would tell me a story. The framing hammer that built their son's treehouse in '92. The set of chisels he used on his first big contracting job. We took photos. We found a young apprentice carpenter who looked at the collection with wide, reverent eyes and bought most of it. We donated the rest to a community workshop. Slowly, painfully, light began to fill the garage. The floor, unseen for a decade, reappeared. It wasn't about getting rid of things. It was about George making a conscious choice to trade the past he couldn't change for the future he could still protect. He was dismantling the monument to the man he used to be, to make room for the man he still was, a husband. The day Sarah finally parked her car in the clear, empty space, I was there. There were no tears, no grand pronouncements, just a quiet sense of rightness. George stood there, hands in his pockets, and watched her turn off the engine. He didn't look defeated or diminished. He looked light. He turned to me, a small, wry smile on his face, and said the truest thing I'd heard all year. "You know," he said, his voice steady, "I'm still the man who built this house. I just don't need to prove it to anyone anymore." He had finally given his past an honorable discharge. He understood that his value wasn't stored in a pile of steel and wood. It was in the life he was living, and the people he was living it with. George's garage wasn't just a physical problem. It was a symptom of a deeper illness, one that infects so many of us as we age. We mistake our homes for our identities. We believe the things we've accumulated are the story of our lives. But that's a lie we tell ourselves to justify the inertia. Your house is not a history book. It is the stage upon which you are meant to live out your present. Every room you keep untouched for a child who left home in '98. Every suit you keep for a job you retired from a decade ago is a ghost. You are living in a haunted house of your own making. These ghosts don't rattle chains. They silently steal your energy. They occupy prime real estate not just in your closets, but in your mind, whispering of past glories and failed ambitions, keeping you tethered to a person you no longer are. You are not what you own. You are what you do, today, with the time you have left. The world will tell you to fear empty space, that an empty shelf or a clear corner is a sign of lack, of loss. I am here to tell you that empty space is the most valuable thing you can own after 60. It is not a void. It is potential. It is breathing room for your soul. That space where the useless cabinet once stood, that is where you can put the comfortable armchair for your afternoon reading. The closet cleared of clothes that no longer fit, that's the storage for your new painting hobby. You see, the great work of this age isn't about acquiring more. It's about curating a life of intention. You don't clear out the clutter to create a sterile, empty box. You clear it out to make room for your life to happen. That quiet, empty space is where your freedom begins. It's the blank page on which you can finally write the story of who you are now and who you still want to become. So if you are ready to stop being the unpaid manager of your own museum, here are the rules. These aren't just tips for cleaning. They are the laws of liberation. The first is what I call the ghost inventory. This is not a task for a Saturday afternoon. It is a sacred walk. I want you to walk through your home, room by room, and identify the things that belong to a ghost version of you. The you that was a different size, that had a different job, or that pursued a hobby you haven't touched in 15 years. The golf clubs from before your back went bad. The expensive suits from your corner office days. The box of yarn for the sweater you started in 1993. These items aren't benign, They are spectral tenants, living rent-free in your space and reminding you of a life that is no longer yours. Acknowledge them, and then evict them with gratitude for the role they once played. You are not honoring your past self by keeping these things. You are letting their ghost haunt your present. True self-respect is living honestly, bravely, in the body and life you have today. Look in your closet. Do you see the clothes of the 25-year-old you, the 40-year-old you? Acknowledge the woman who wore them. She was magnificent. But she is not you, not anymore. You have earned the lines on your face and the wisdom in your heart. You have earned the right to wear clothes that are comfortable for the body you inhabit right now. Letting go of that size 8 dress isn't admitting defeat. It's a declaration of self-acceptance. It's choosing to love the person you are, not the person you were. It's a radical act of kindness to your current self, and it is the first, most crucial step toward feeling light again in your own home. Next, you must embrace the container principle. This is beautifully simple and non-negotiable. Your house is a container, not an accordion. Your closets are containers. Your shelves, your drawers, your cabinets, they are all containers with finite physical limits. For decades, you've been trying to cram 50 years of life into a space meant for one life, lived now. You must stop. When a bookshelf is full, it's full. That is its boundary. The solution isn't to buy another bookshelf. The solution is to decide which stories on that shelf are no longer part of your current chapter. Setting these physical boundaries for your possessions forces you to make the decisions you've been postponing. It's a powerful teacher, showing you that a life, just like a home, is healthier, more peaceful, and more functional when it respects its natural limits. You cannot grow if you are constantly overflowing. Then you must go to war with a single insidious word: someday. Someday is the most dangerous word in retirement. It's a fantasy that justifies inaction today. It's a thief that steals the clean, beautiful peace of right now. The china you're saving for someday, the stack of magazines you'll read someday, the broken chair you'll fix someday. Someday is not a day of the week. It does not exist on the calendar. By keeping an object for a hypothetical, foggy future, you are actively sacrificing the real, tangible, and precious present. You are trading the calm you could feel this evening for a vague possibility that will likely never arrive. That someday pile in the corner isn't a collection of potential. It is a monument to procrastination, and it is robbing you of the joy and energy you could be using to live your life today. For the items that truly make your heart ache, you must practice what I call sentimental triage. You do not need to become a cold, heartless robot. But you must be a ruthless editor of your own story. Keep one representative item, not the entire collection. My mother Gloria loved her teacups. She had dozens. When she passed, I didn't keep 12 boxes of porcelain. I kept one, just one, the one with the small faded roses that she used every single morning. The one I can hold in my hands and still feel the warmth of her presence. The memory is not stored in the volume of objects. It is concentrated in the pure emotion of a single chosen talisman. Saving everything dilutes the memory until it's a watery, overwhelming mess. Saving one thing, the right thing, honors it. It makes the memory a touchstone, not a burden. Now let's talk economics. I want you to start calculating the time tax. You may have retired from your job, but many of you have simply taken on a new one. You've become the unpaid 24/7 warehouse manager of your own life. For every single object you choose to keep, you pay a tax. You pay it in the time it takes to clean it, to dust around it, to store it, to maintain it, and to worry about it. Think of the hours you spend every year managing things you don't even use. That is your life slipping away. It's the finite, non-refundable currency of your remaining healthy years being spent on guarding relics. Free up your future by firing some of your stuff. Sell that collection of old records and use the money to take a trip. Your time is your most valuable asset. Stop letting your possessions tax it into oblivion. And this brings me to the biggest mental hurdle of all: redefining waste. Your generation, my generation, we were taught not to be wasteful. It was a sin. To throw away something that still works, or that you paid good money for, feels like a moral failing. I am here to tell you to reconsider that definition. What is more wasteful? Letting go of a bread maker you haven't used since 1995, or wasting your precious energy, your limited mobility, your mental peace, and your physical space storing it for another 20 years. The greatest waste is a life not fully lived. The greatest waste is a retirement spent managing clutter instead of cultivating joy. Possessions that get in the way of that life, that steal your peace and chain you to the past, are the true waste, regardless of what you paid for them. Let them go. So let's do a small exercise right now, together. Pause for a moment. Look around the room you're in, or picture the room in your house that gives you the most anxiety. Now pick one thing in that room with your eyes. Ask yourself this brutally honest question: is this object helping me grow into the person I want to be for my remaining years? Or is it keeping me tethered to a person I no longer am? Is it a wing, or is it an anchor? The answer will be immediate. It will be a feeling in your gut. Now I want you to share that with us. This is our circle of wisdom. Go to the comments and tell us, what is the one type of object, the one ghost, that is the hardest for you to let go of? Is it books, clothes, gifts. By sharing it, you take away its power. You are not alone in this fight. Ignoring this heaviness in your home doesn't make it go away. It's not static. It's a cancer. It metastasizes. The low-grade anxiety you feel at 3 a.m. hardens into a constant, joy-killing dread. Your home, your nest, becomes your adversary. You stop inviting people over because the thought of tidying up is just too exhausting. A creeping sense of shame isolates you. The freedom you dreamed of is replaced by the reality of maintenance. This is where your house begins to actively harm you. Pathways become cluttered, creating trip hazards for knees that aren't what they used to be. You strain your back moving a box of memories you haven't opened since the millennium. There are no loans for retirement. You cannot borrow more health or time later. Every day you postpone this, you are spending your finite health and peace of mind on things that give nothing back. And a fall can cost you your independence in a single, irreversible second. But the most painful consequence, the one that should chill you to your very bones, is the one you leave behind. The ultimate regret isn't just a life spent curating instead of living. It's the project you bequeath to your children. You think you are leaving them memories, but you are not. You are leaving them a job, a massive, soul-crushing project. They will have to take precious time off from their own jobs, sacrifice weekends with their own children, all to sift through a lifetime of your unmade decisions. They will have to do this while navigating their own profound grief, turning the act of remembering you into a logistical nightmare of dumpsters and donation runs. You are, without intending to, burdening the people you love most with the one thing you were supposed to handle yourself. You are forcing them to grant your life the honorable discharge you refuse to give it. That is not a legacy. It's a final, heavy weight. Now for the real pact. Take a piece of paper. Right now, not later. Write down 3 things you are guarding for that thief someday. The good china, the expensive bottle of wine, the trip you're waiting for the perfect time to take. Look at that list. Now take your pen, cross out the word someday next to each one, and write this month. That is your new deadline. This is the work we do here. It's not about tidying up. It's about reclaiming the time you have left. If you are serious about learning to walk with lightness through your remaining years, then subscribe to this channel. Think of it as a commitment to yourself, a promise to stop living in a museum. It's a pact to honor your own life. Now go. Go use the good plates. Go live your life. I'll see you in the next one.